A shadow looms, Putin's nuclear threat. The world watches, holding its breath as tensions escalate to unprecedented levels. A shadow hangs over Ukraine, a shadow cast by Vladimir Putin and his nuclear arsenal. The invasion has brought untold suffering and destruction, but the threat of nuclear war looms even larger. Since the invasion began, Putin has repeatedly invoked the specter of nuclear war. His rhetoric is filled with ominous warnings designed to instill fear and uncertainty. These threats are not empty. They are backed by a formidable arsenal, capable of causing unimaginable devastation. They are a terrifying reminder of the stakes in this conflict. The world is reminded of the fragile balance of power and the catastrophic consequences of its disruption. The world stands at a precipice, teetering on the edge of a potential disaster. Diplomatic efforts are in overdrive, but the path forward is fraught with peril. The wrong move could be catastrophic. A single miscalculation could trigger a chain reaction, leading to widespread destruction. Putin's threats are a desperate attempt to break the West's resolve. He aims to sow discord and fear, hoping to weaken the united front against his aggression. He sees the writing on the wall. His invasion is faltering. The resilience of the Ukrainian forces and the support from the international community are taking their toll. Ukraine is fighting back fiercely and effectively. Their determination and courage are inspiring the world. The West stands united, supplying Ukraine with the weapons it needs to defend itself. This solidarity is a powerful message to Putin that his tactics will not succeed. Putin is losing and he knows it. His frustration is palpable as his plans unravel. So he reaches for the ultimate weapon, fear. By invoking the specter of nuclear war, he hopes to paralyze his adversaries and force them into submission. But the world must stand firm, for the cost of yielding to such threats is far too great. The Kremlin's saber-rattling, a history of threats. For decades, the Kremlin has used the specter of nuclear war as a tool of intimidation and control. Nuclear threats are nothing new for Putin. Since his rise to power, he has consistently leveraged the fear of nuclear conflict to maintain a grip on both domestic and international politics. He has used them before to intimidate his opponents. By brandishing the threat of nuclear weapons, he aims to create a climate of fear and uncertainty, making it difficult for his adversaries to mount a unified response. In 2014, after Russia's annexation of Crimea, Putin warned that he was prepared to put his nuclear forces on alert. This was a clear message to the world that he was willing to escalate the situation to the brink of nuclear war if necessary. He has also threatened to use nuclear weapons against NATO countries if they interfere in Ukraine. This threat is not just a bluff, it is a calculated move to deter Western intervention and to keep NATO at bay. These threats are designed to sow fear and division. By creating a sense of impending doom, Putin hopes to weaken the resolve of his opponents and to fracture alliances. Putin wants the West to believe that he is irrational, that he is willing to risk everything to achieve his goals. This perception of unpredictability is a strategic advantage, making it harder for other nations to predict his next move. He wants us to back down, to abandon Ukraine to its fate. By doing so, he aims to reassert Russian dominance in the region and to send a message that resistance is futile. We cannot let him succeed. The international community must remain united and resolute in the face of these threats. It is crucial to show that we will not be cowed by nuclear blackmail. We must stand firm against his nuclear blackmail. By doing so, we not only protect Ukraine, but also uphold the principles of international law and the sovereignty of nations. Alarms bells Putin's recent warnings. Putin's nuclear rhetoric has escalated in recent months. In September 2022, he announced that Russia would use all means at our disposal to defend its territory, including nuclear weapons. This was followed by a series of veiled threats from Putin and his allies. They warned that any attack on Russian territory would be met with a lightning-fast response. These threats are deeply concerning. They suggest that Putin is becoming increasingly desperate. He is losing his grip on power. His invasion of Ukraine has backfired spectacularly. The Russian economy is in freefall. His people are turning against him. Putin is a cornered animal, and cornered animals are dangerous. The West responds a balancing act. The West faces a delicate balancing act. We must provide Ukraine with the support it needs to defend itself without provoking a wider conflict with Russia. This means providing Ukraine with advanced weapons systems, but it also means maintaining open lines of communication with Moscow. The Biden administration has ruled out sending US troops to fight in Ukraine. However, the US has provided billions of dollars in military aid to Ukraine, including anti-tank missiles, anti-aircraft systems, and long-range artillery. The US has also imposed crippling sanctions on Russia, targeting its economy and its oligarchs. The Section 5A world condemns the fallout of nuclear rhetoric. Putin's nuclear threats have been met with widespread condemnation from the international community. The United Nations has called on Russia to refrain from any rhetoric that might suggest an escalation of the conflict. NATO has condemned Russia's dangerous and irresponsible nuclear rhetoric. Even China, Russia's closest ally, has expressed concern about Putin's nuclear saber-rattling. Chinese President Xi Jinping has reportedly told Putin that nuclear weapons cannot be used and nuclear wars cannot be fought. This is a significant rebuke from Beijing, and it suggests that Putin is increasingly isolated on the world stage. Section 6 Ukraine stands strong defiance in the face of fear. Despite facing the threat of nuclear annihilation, the Ukrainian people remain defiant. They are determined to fight for their freedom, and they are not intimidated by Putin's threats. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has rallied his people, calling them to fight for every meter of our land. The Ukrainian people are an inspiration to the world. They are showing us what it means to stand up for freedom and democracy. They are risking their lives to defend their country, and they are doing it with courage and determination. Section 7. The experts weigh in. Is nuclear war likely? The possibility of nuclear war is a terrifying prospect. The mere thought of such a conflict sends chills down the spine of anyone who contemplates it. The devastation and loss of life would be unimaginable, and the long-term consequences for the planet would be dire. But how likely is it? This question has been on the minds of many, especially in recent years as global tensions have risen. Experts say that the risk of nuclear war is higher now than it has been since the Cuban Missile Crisis. This period in history was marked by extreme tension between the United States and the Soviet Union, bringing the world to the brink of nuclear conflict. However, they also say that the risk is still relatively low. Despite the heightened tensions, the mechanisms in place to prevent such a catastrophe are robust and effective. There are a number of factors that make nuclear war unlikely. Diplomatic channels remain open, and there are numerous treaties and agreements designed to reduce the risk of nuclear conflict. First, both Russia and the United States have a strong interest in avoiding nuclear war. The leaders of these nations understand that a nuclear conflict would be devastating for both sides. Nuclear war would be catastrophic for both countries, and it is highly unlikely that either side would emerge victorious. The destruction would be so extensive that it would affect not just the warring nations, but the entire world. Second, both countries have sophisticated early warning systems that would give them ample time to respond to a nuclear attack. These systems are designed to detect any incoming threats and allow for a timely and measured response. This makes it much more difficult for either side to launch a surprise attack. The element of surprise is crucial in warfare, and the advanced technology in place significantly reduces this risk. Additionally, international cooperation and communication play a vital role in maintaining peace and preventing misunderstandings that could lead to conflict. In conclusion, while the threat of nuclear war cannot be entirely dismissed, the combined efforts of nations around the world to prevent such a disaster provide a significant level of reassurance. The ongoing dialogue, treaties, and technological advancements all contribute to a safer global environment. It is crucial for the global community to continue working together to ensure that the specter of nuclear war remains a distant possibility rather than a looming reality. Section 8. A global nightmare. The potential consequences. The consequences of nuclear war would be catastrophic. A nuclear exchange between Russia and the United States would kill millions of people instantly. The long-term effects of nuclear war would be even more devastating. Nuclear fallout would contaminate vast areas of the planet, making them uninhabitable for generations. The use of nuclear weapons would also trigger a global nuclear winter. The smoke and debris from nuclear explosions would block out the sun, causing temperatures to plummet around the world. This would lead to widespread crop failures, famine, and disease. Section 9. Preventing Armageddon, the path to peace. The only way to prevent nuclear war is to eliminate nuclear weapons. This will require a concerted effort from the international community. We need to work together to reduce nuclear stockpiles, strengthen non-proliferation treaties, and create a world without nuclear weapons. We also need to address the underlying causes of conflict. This means promoting democracy and human rights, resolving territorial disputes peacefully, and building a more just and equitable world. Section 10. The world holds its breath, an uncertain future. The world is at a crossroads. We can choose the path of peace, or we can choose the path of destruction. The stakes have never been higher. The future of humanity hangs in the balance. We must choose wisely. The war in Ukraine is a tragedy for all involved. It is a reminder of the fragility of peace, and it is a call to action. We must do everything in our power to prevent this conflict from escalating into a nuclear war. The future of humanity depends on it.